What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday, we had a game reveal from Atlus that seemed to cause quite a bit of controversy, certainly much more than I was expecting when we first heard about the tease for this announcement. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Capcom's big reveal, that being for a new Street Fighter, as well as a brand new collection of fighting games. And we're also going to be talking about some surprising PlayStation 5 sales for Horizon Forbidden West and that PS4 to PS5 split. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Elden Ring. It's out this Friday, and I'm very excited to pick this game up. But if you're someone who's looking to preload or really trying to figure out when the soonest is you can play this game, they did release this chart here, which you can see showing the different time zones and when you'd be able to access the game with the global release timings. Now, they do say preload is available 48 hours prior to these times on Steam and PlayStation, and they're available right now for the Xbox. If I look towards North America here, Eastern time is midnight, and then going all the way over to Pacific time, 9 p.m. there. And the interesting thing is, if you pick it up on PC, you can start playing 6 hours before that. Yeah, 6 p.m. Eastern, that being February 24th. So, hey, good news there for PC gamers. For consoles, you just have to wait till midnight Eastern time. Either way, though, I am really looking forward to this one. I think I'm going to pick it up on the PlayStation 5, as I have some friends who are playing on that platform. But the build-up for this game, the hype, it feels like it's been going on for an eternity now, doesn't it? So I'm ready to finally jump into the world of Elden Ring and see what it's all about. Also, last year, we did have Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy come out, and it appears that unfortunately the sales for this game have fallen below expectations. We can see this posted up over on VG Charts. This from Square's latest earnings report, where they had some things to go over in their different reports and ratings and all of this. They say the HD Games subsegment launched Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy in Q3. Despite strong reviews, the game's sales on launch undershot our initial expectations. However, sales initiatives that we kicked off in November 2021 and continued into the new year have resulted in sales growth, and we intend to work to continue to expand sales to make up for the title's slow start. I mean, if you noticed, we had this game marked down pretty quickly on different videos where I went over sales, and I was like, wow, the game's like $30 already. It's like half off. And the game's actually pretty good. I feel like we got off of the whole release of Marvel's The Avengers and wasn't great. The live service aspect just did not work out, I think, the way that Square was hoping. They lost their player count very quickly, and that was sort of it. But Guardians of the Galaxy is like a straightforward story, narrative-driven experience that is actually good. So I'm hoping over time it does better, because those are the Marvel games I would prefer to see. And to be honest, if you do see it on sale for like $20 or $30, it's absolutely worth a pickup. Oh, and we did get confirmation for the developer behind Mario Strikers Battle League. It's basically who we figured it would be. We could see this posted up over on Nintendo World Report saying Next Level Games confirmed to be developing Mario Strikers Battle League. They actually were able to reach out to Nintendo, and they said, yeah, they're co-developing this game with Nintendo. Next Level Games has been putting out some pretty good quality, with Luigi's Mansion 3 doing very, very well for Nintendo. This being in co-development with Nintendo, I'm, again, very excited for this title over the summer. I'm really looking forward to that online play, but the biggest issue I've had with these different sports titles, specifically this generation with the Switch, is the game comes out, feels like it's lacking content, and then they add it over the course of like the following year. You get to the end of that, and it feels like a more complete game. So I'm hoping Mario Strikers releases with more content and the game feels complete, and then maybe they'll add stuff into the online as they go along. But from what they've shown with the multiplayer, I'm thinking there's gonna be a lot of fun day one. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Atlus's big announcement. And we knew it was gonna be Soul Hackers related, and it's indeed a full sequel to the game, which released way back in the day on the Saturn, got a remake on the 3DS, and now 10 years later, it looks like there is a full sequel, that being Soul Hackers 2. The reason this seemed to drum up a lot of conversation and quite a bit of controversy mostly had to do with the platform choice for this game, which we do have some of the trailer here, and then we got to the end of it. It is coming out August 26th, so a pretty cool announcement to release. I mean, 6 months, that's great. We don't have to wait too long. But then they showed the platforms: PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, S, Xbox One, Windows, and Steam. That's right, there is no Nintendo Switch version, which seemed to surprise a lot of people, especially on Twitter, considering the Switch has sold exceptionally well in Japan. I mean, it's obvious that the Switch is really the leading platform in Japan and that it's not even close. Just week-to-week sales, you see 100,000, 150,000 Switch systems sell, and then you'll see like the PS5 do all right, like 10 or 15,000. The Xbox Series will try to push somewhere between 5 and 10. It's just, the Switch is just a runaway right now in Japan. So you figure Japanese developers would be putting their games there first. Not the case here though. In fact, seeing that Xbox logo pop up seemed to surprise people too. I think it's great that this game is going to Xbox because this is sort of a genre that the Xbox console has been lacking, but they have been picking up titles like Tales of Arise or Scarlet Nexus, and here we are now with a game from Atlus making the jump. So the biggest question I was seeing people ask is, why isn't this on the Switch? And really, it's anyone's guess, but if we had to step back and look at it from a business perspective, this game probably isn't going to do massive numbers, especially if you look at Soul Hacker, the one that even released on the 3DS. I don't think that even got to 100,000 units sold. Like, it didn't do that well. So I'm sure Atlus and especially Sega looking at this saying, how can we make this sequel but not spend a ton of money doing it? Like, I don't think they have the biggest budget in the world, and I'm sure Atlus is working on a lot of other games too, like the next Persona title. Most likely they said, okay, let's try to get it on as many platforms as we can initially. And they said, well, let's develop for the PlayStation, the Xbox, the PC, all the x86 stuff. And maybe if it does well down the road, it'll go to the Switch. That's kind of what I'm thinking the scenario is going to be here. Let's say it comes out, does well enough, maybe even they pick up a Game Pass check, and then they go, okay, cool. 2 years from now, we'll look to drop it on the Switch at full price, which is a trend that we've seen a lot, right? Like Dot Hack, that collection is heading to the Switch here pretty soon at pretty much full price, whereas it's like $10 on the PlayStation consistently on sale. I saw some people mention, oh, the Switch might not be able to run it. I think the Switch would be able to run it, but like how much time and money would have to be invested to get it optimized to that point, because it'd have to be ported over to ARM and of course made to work on the Switch with some of its unique feature set. And that's probably something Atlus and Sega had to decide, and this is the route they went with. But I guess there's always a chance it could show up later. Either way though, for fans of the Soul Hacker game released way back in the day, this has got to be a very exciting thing to see, and there are plenty of platforms that'll be releasing on later on this year, so certainly something to get excited about there. Next up, let's talk about some surprising PlayStation 5 sales. I'll explain to you why it's surprising. This having to do with Horizon Forbidden West in the UK. We can see this posted up by Christopher Dring saying, decent opening for Horizon Forbidden West in the UK box charts, where it's at number 1. Second biggest PS5 retail launch after Spider-Man Miles Morales. Almost a third of sales were on PS4. Second biggest launch of the year after Pokemon Legends. So almost a third of the sales were on the PlayStation 4, which means the rest were on the PS5. So nearly 70% of people spent $70 on this game at retail, which is weird because you can buy the PS4 copy and it has a free upgrade. So you don't actually have to spend $70, you can get away with spending $60 and just taking advantage of that. But a lot of people decided, no, I'm just gonna spend $70 and get the PS5 box art. I get that at least. It's like, if you buy it physically, specifically with this, you have the PS5 version on that disc, whereas if you get the PS4 version, you pop it in, you have to get an upgrade, or basically the entire game has to download for the PS5. At least that's my understanding, and that's one of the reasons I went with the PS5 version, is because, as you know, I'm a big physical collector. I'd rather have everything there on the disc. I mean, look what we're dealing with right now with Nintendo and even Sony looking to chop down some of these digital storefronts. But it was just interesting to me because the $70 debate has been raging on, but it seems to be kind of losing steam the more we've seen games release and the more people will opt to have no problem spending $70. Now, I will say if you pick this up digitally, there's really no reason to get the $70 version, because when you buy it, the $6 one, and you just upgrade, you're downloading the PS5 version either way there. But Sony did make it pretty difficult to even find that PS4 version. Either way though, the thing I'm really curious about is, if you got this game, I'm gonna go with physically, did you get it on the PS5 and spend the full $70? And if that's the case, why. Next up, let's talk about Capcom's big announcement. As their teaser website and the countdown hit 0, they did reveal Street Fighter 6. It was something that was being rumored and almost confirmed ahead of this announcement, but we did have a full trailer for it, which shows some larger-than-life characters, of course, with Ryu, and it looks like it's almost a more realistic tone even, but they did throw in some of those shades of kind of that artistic kind of like paint and all of this as well. The thing that I'm not really thrilled with is the logo. I guess it's a small thing, but like the logo just doesn't look very good to me. It looks super generic, and people have been joking it looks like Street Fighter has like, I think Brian Altana said like 6 emails in queue. Yeah, it kind of does look like that, and I guess the big push here is for that esports like logo look, and yeah, it would I guess fit right in with like the esports banners and all of that, since obviously Street Fighter is a big deal in things like Evo. Otherwise though, they didn't really show too much about it, just some quick shots of what was a pre-rendered cutscene essentially, in engine I guess, but we're not really sure if it's using Unreal or if it's using RE Engine. The rumor right now is that they are making that push over to RE Engine, and it makes sense considering I'm sure they get it to work and then they don't have to pay the licensing fees or any of that, since that's their own engine. And you know, it would be kind of cool to see what it could do in a competitive fighting game like Street Fighter, but we can look forward to more information over the summer because that was the big thing. It's like they gave us the countdown to the announcement to then say, look out for more information in a couple of months. They did have another announcement that I thought was pretty cool, and we don't have to wait too long to at least get our hands on this, and that is a large collection of, I would say niche, but fighting games that people probably weren't expecting for Capcom to bring back all in one shot. We can see this posted up. The Capcom Fighting Collection, they have an entire website set up for this, coming June 24th, 2022, Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. Some of the features they have are indeed rollback netcode, so it does a full online play, casual, ranked, custom matches, a lot of quality of life features, including CPU difficulty settings, quick save, button customizations, full museum. There's an original design documents, art, music players, and we also have a large list of games to take a look at. 10 games will be in this, including Darkstalkers, Night Warriors, Vampire Savior, Vampire Hunter 2, Vampire Savior 2, Red Earth, Cyberbots. So I was like, Capcom's really doing Cyberbots? Yeah, apparently. Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, Hyper Street Fighter 2, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. And while I understand that Street Fighter 6 was like the big reveal that people got hyped for, I think this fighting collection is pretty cool too, and I'll be checking that one out when it releases in about 4 months. I'm not a big fighting game fan, but I do like to check out the collections, especially for older titles like these that I didn't really spend much time with at all. The other big question is going to be Street Fighter 6's platforms. We kind of expect it to just be PlayStation exclusive at this point, based on really the stake that Sony has now in Evo and what happened with Street Fighter 5, but that Capcom leak did show Xbox as at least a system they were developing Street Fighter 6 for, so we'll see how this turns out, I guess, over the summer. But pretty cool announcement, yes, Street Fighter 6, but that fighting collection, definitely want to check that out. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Nintendo and potentially remastering some of their GameCube games. At least this was a topic that was brought up by Nightdive Studios' CEO, and we can see this posted up by Steven saying, we've had discussions with Nintendo over the years about remastering a number of their games, and they always get gun shy working with third-party developers, even after Nightdive Studio released the first N64 games on their platform. Goes on to say, Eternal Darkness is #1 on my list, by the way. You know what? That would actually be really cool to see. Can we get MVG on Eternal Darkness? Hey, that would be a massive thing to see MVG in the credits for a Nightdive Studio project, and it's Eternal Darkness. And in fact, now I think about it, Eternal Darkness, it was a strange game on the GameCube. It really was. Obviously, the value for that has continued to climb and go through the roof, but it did some very weird, fourth wall breaking things even back then during that generation. But now, think about that game taking advantage of some of the unique features for the Switch, like with the HD Rumble. What if at one point the game says, take your Switch out of the dock, and you do, and it has like some weird stuff on the screen? A lot of potential and different things they could play around with for a game that wasn't afraid to take any chances. So that would be cool. Let me know which games you would like to see remastered for the GameCube. I know people are going to say F-Zero or something like that. I kind of think some of those, I guess, closer knit IPs Nintendo probably wants to deal with themselves, but who knows, back then they were taking some of these properties and really just having different companies, third-party companies, work on them more freely. So you never know. I guess it's possible, but at least for now, Nintendo seems to be gun-shy, as Steven has mentioned here from Nightdive, but I'd like to see them become more open, especially with projects like Eternal Darkness. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, are you picking up Elden Ring this weekend? 27% said yes, I'm grabbing it ASAP. 30% said not this weekend, going to wait a bit. And then 43% said no, I'm passing on Elden Ring. I mean, it's a FromSoft game, so I understand some people may look at it and say, look, that's just going to be a very difficult game. Although it sounds like they didn't necessarily make it like easy, but they did add some quality of life things with checkpoints and different parts there because it is kind of this open world style game. Again, I'll have to play it for myself to judge the difficulty curve here, because things like Sekiro wasn't easy, but I think it was a bit more fair, if that makes sense, just based on the pairing and all these things you could do. But it's certainly going to be a difficult game, and I'm looking forward, like I said, to picking it up as soon as possible on Friday. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Oscar, saying the eShop fiasco is really putting that digital versus physical debate in the spotlight. I was getting used to buying digital, but now I feel like I'm gonna get screwed over unless I back up my games. I mean, the idea of the digital storefront is still kind of new. Like, obviously, it was there during the 360 and the PS3 generation, but it really started to take hold and overtake physical during the PS4 and the Xbox One generation. Here we are now, where it's like 70% for some of these companies like EA or Take-Two is like all digital. And it is that thought of convenience versus the possibility of preservation. I mean, who's to say at this point, because we are in uncharted territory when it comes to these store closures, that you will be able to re-download these games in like 15 or 20 years. Now, some people may not care because we are in really a gaming landscape where it's very remaster and remake happy. Like, we see so many games just get moved up and ported to, you know, the next generation platform. But it is something to consider when you do buy a game. Will I still have access to this if it's a digital purchase 10, 15 years from now? And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Was the Street Fighter 6 reveal. What did you think of the logo or even the visuals that they showed off there? And then also, what about Soul Hackers 2? It's from Atlus. Were you surprised that they had a PlayStation and Xbox logo there, but no Switch logo? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.